Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Flow Over Fear podcast, where it is our mission to help you to rise above fear and realize your ultimate potential in leadership and life. I'm your host, Adam Hill, and it is my goal to share with you the human side of high performance. My guests share their experience with fear, anxiety, struggle, challenge, and most importantly, despite all of it, how they rose above it to achieve incredible results. So, if you're ready to rise up, let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this recap episode of Flow Over Fear. And today I'm going to talk about the interview that I just had with Andrew Anderson. And Andrew is a speaker, and he's an international best-selling author of the book, Strength of the Oak, Strength of the Willow, How to Find Courage and Compassion in a Turbulent World. And in this pretty wide-ranging conversation, we talked a lot about service. And this is something we haven't covered a lot on this show, to my detriment. But one thing that is true, one thing that I've found to be true, at least in my life, is that one of the best ways to get over fear, to rise above fear, not eliminate it. Because remember, we don't eliminate fear. We don't get over it. Fear is always going to be a part of us. But one of the ways in which we can embrace it and actually rise above it is by being in service. And as I talked about with Andrew today, and as he brought up, service, going out and serving people, is one of the best ways to find your life mission. In fact, I would argue that service is our life mission, if we speak from a very, very broad perspective. When we look at our life's mission, and when we look at what we mean, what we represent in the world, we should look to how we want to serve. Because when we get to the root of how we want to serve in the world, ultimately that leads to us going down a path where we live out our lives, where we approach the end of our life, and we lay on our deathbed or whatever that end of life moment may be for us. And we look back on our lives, and we have a moment of fulfilling for all of the people and all of the good that we've done in the world. How do you want to serve? If you're struggling with finding your life mission or your life's purpose or whatever you want to call it, your passion or whatever it might be, get out, go serve someone. Once you see someone, as Andrew said in our interview, once you can do that, you start to discover what you can dig deeper and find out what specifically that mission is for you, where you want to go. And if you're not sure even how to start serving, it starts with a small step. It could start with something as simple as just looking around, just opening your eyes and looking around at who might need to be served. We're all going through something in our lives. All of us, every single one of us has a challenge, has something that we might need help on. And this was an important concept too that came up in this interview, is that from time to time, we're not just giving of ourselves, but we have to recognize when we need to receive that help. Because a lot of times we might be overwhelmed. We might be doing too much. We might have a lot of things that are just coming at us at once, and we need the help. And we need to lean into that healing or that support or that guidance. That's where communities come in. That's where mentorship comes in. And if you don't know what your life's mission is, what you want to do, and you're just questioning that, go out and serve someone. Go out and serve people. One of the things that personally helped me in my life, in developing and finding out what my passion was, what I feel like my mission is in my life, which I believe is to help people to redefine their relationships with fear, to treat it as I treat it, which is a friend, superpower, something that can actually be a signal for where you have an opportunity to grow. When I was struggling, when I was in the midst of my addiction and my alcoholism, I wasn't thinking of that. I wasn't thinking of how I wanted to serve. I was thinking of how much pain I was, how much I was hurting, how much I was struggling, how much I wanted out. And when I finally got healing, when I finally was able to heal and accept the help I needed, And then lean into something that was empowering to me. I realized that in serving others, that's where the fulfillment came in. Starting this podcast and hoping that I can reach somebody out there that is feeling this way with interviews from people like Andrew, who can help people to get over their limiting beliefs and things like that. That's empowering to me. That's the way of service. Where can you get out and serve? Is it in a soup kitchen? Is it somebody that's across the street that just needs your help? Is it a family member? Is it in your work? Where is it? Look for that this week. That's a challenge to you. The way that Andrew found that out is he had his own struggles in life where, growing up, feeling insecure as someone who developed slowly, he, didn't have a lot of friends when he started high school, and ended up finding himself in the bathroom of the boys' room, standing on a toilet seat, hiding and just crying. And it wasn't until he found that mentor that blessed him, as he said, that blessed him with the inspiration, with the mission, with the service, with all of that was able to help him define who he was and what he wanted to be in the world. And as he grew up, he grew into a man who became a service-oriented person. And he talks about his transformation like this. He talks about transformation in terms of NLP, which says that if we want transformation, what we need to do is we need to break the pattern. We need to break the pattern of what we were. In my life, it was drinking. I had to break that pattern of drinking to become something new. I had to break the pattern of all of the anxiety and all those fears to transform into something new. What are the patterns that you need to break in your own life? And where is your ego preventing you from breaking those patterns? Where is your ego preventing you from breaking those patterns? Because that ego is just a false identity, according to Andrew. And when you serve in the world, your ego dies. When your ego dies, when it starts to die, it starts to throw a tantrum, just like a child might when it doesn't get its way. And so that's one of the things to remember is, where is your ego getting in the way of your transformation, of your breaking of a pattern that might not be serving you? Another way that Andrew described that we can kind of start to get past or transform ourselves or get over our fears or our anxieties is to ask ourselves, is to start getting curious about it. Ask ourselves, is that true? And even digging deeper, he said, is it 100% true? Because if it's not 100% true, if there's a little bit of doubt in there, in that question, then you might, then it's a lie. Then you might not, be telling the truth of yourself if you're telling yourself those limiting beliefs. So understanding that and getting out of your head in terms of telling yourself a false story is one way is by the way of curiosity. We got into Andrew's relationship with his family and his kids. He has 7 kids, and this was a big one for me, just knowing that I have 2 kids, and a lot of times that even feels overwhelming. There's a lot of fear that I have for my kids. Are they going to? What fears do they have? What anxieties do they have? What are they facing at school? What's going on in their lives? What are they gonna, grow up to be? Where are they hurting? Those are all fears that I have. And the problem a lot of us have as parents, is that we tend to project those fears onto our kids. We tend to worry about them to the point where they worry about themselves and they worry about the world around them. And Andrew made a powerful point during this, was to say, don't plant those fears into our kids. We're going to have enough fear as it is, right? As individuals, our kids are going to have their own fears. Let's not project our fears onto them. Let's instead empower them to be the best versions of themselves that they can be. That's not always easy, by the way. That's not an easy thing to do. And I certainly fail at it every day by worrying about my own kids. But it is something to keep in mind, that planting those fears might be problematic. Um, and but the nature of how his family was, he brought, I believe, 3 kids to his new marriage, and his wife brought 2 kids. And so they had 5 kids to start, both from those separate marriages. And they had one more child together, which made 6. And coming from the background that I came out from, which is both parents brought kids to their marriage from my parents' standpoint. 2 from my mom's side, 1 from my dad's side, and then they had me, which, so growing up felt, at times I knew I had siblings and, lived with them for a while, but times felt like an only child in some ways. So I can relate to, their 6th child, but they ended up having a 7th child as well, so that they could kind of round it out and give their other child someone to grow up with. And that that just kind of showed the level of care and compassion that he has, that he wanted to bring a new child into the world. And so his perspective on parenting is obviously a very strong one. So Andrew, is a very, very, it was a very, very engaging discussion, and I really want you to go and listen to it, because there's a lot of discussion about service on here and in this episode. And service is a powerful way in which we can rise above our fears. If you're feeling that fear, if you're immersed in that fear, and if you're immersed in anxiety, start to get curious about it. Ask yourself, is what I'm feeling, really reflective? Is it true? And not to say that your feelings aren't legitimate, because they always are. Fear exists for a reason. But start to get curious about it. And then start to look outward. Where can you help? Can you serve people? And where might you need help? Where do you need to ask for help? Where do you need to have the humility to heal? And those are important questions that can help you to rise above fear and experience your most abundant life. If you want to find Andrew, you can find him at andrewlanderson.com. And he's offered a free gift of, the first chapter, I believe, of his book. If you email him directly at andrewlanderson.com, and just attach in the subject line or in the body, Adam offer, he will send that to you. And if you want more information about Andrew, please listen to the episode, watch the episode, and thank you for joining me today. I look forward to catching you next time. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to the Flow Over Fear podcast. If you'd like to learn more about getting into flow and learn the foundations of flow, I have a free video series on my website at www.adamcliffordhill.com called The Foundations of Flow. Feel free to go there and download it and start your journey to rising above fear and achieving greater flow in your life. And if you like this episode, and I'm guessing you did if you stuck around for this long, then please do me a favor and hit the subscribe button, and you will receive notifications when I have new interviews, new recaps, and new trainings that pop up on YouTube. Thanks again for joining us.